So when we saw the guns, we're like, oh my god, blicky, blicky, blicky.
Yeah, you know what? Once you've seen one haul of like sweaty TCG players, you've probably seen all the hauls of sweaty TCG players, if we're being completely honest here. And we're back! Already the second episode of Banter Nights. My name is Richard. You may also know me as Don't At Me Bro.
I'm Josh, and I am Baby Bigfoot.
We have a lot we want to talk about in this. I mean, hell, the design notes just dropped. But before we go into any of that, Josh, I just want to rewind to the last episode we had with Glenn on. You and him had a little convo about the sideboard in this game and how, you know, it might be a little bit smaller, it might not be. He definitely disagreed with you. But right after that, we got the anniversary stream and we got a big change to the game. You wanna go into a little bit of that? What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah. My first thought is Glenn, I win. And my actual thought is I think it's a great change. I think it's gonna lead to a lot more diversity in the sideboard. It's gonna stop the ally decks from having a huge 8-card pool of material deck slots. And I think it's gonna be really good overall. It's gonna require a lot of testing. It's gonna be a big change for people. But overall, I think it means we're going to have a lot more interactive games post-board, and it means that there's going to be a lot less washouts, which I think is great. I did want to bring out that I did message Glenn as soon as I saw the drop, and he replied about right away. I asked him what his thoughts were, just as a follow-up. He said that's absolutely insane. So I asked him in a good or bad way, and he said it's too hard to say right now, and we'll need lots of testing, and that 15 cards is a huge pull. So he made a very diplomatic argument, which is fair enough.
It's deflecting. It sounds like he's deflecting.
It's deflecting. Yeah, he's deflecting. He's just pointing off the fact that I won, Glenn. I won. I didn't win the games in the Dunedin weekend, but I won this.
Yeah, right after you threw at him that he lost the store champ or didn't top the store champs, then he beat you.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's karma, man. It's actually instant karma. I mean, it sounds like it's a 1-1 between you right now. It sounds like both of you. It sounds like one win each. Honestly, let's see where Worlds goes.
Yeah.
But no, like that. So that was a very big thing from the stream. But honestly, I almost see the first anniversary stream as almost like a prelude to a farewell to ALC, because we have Worlds on the horizon. And then right after that, MRC release. Big new set, obviously. We're gonna get support for every class. We've already seen some of the support for the new classes, and it looks bonkers, like actually insane. I'm so happy with a lot of it. But with ALC on the close, it's kind of almost nice to have a little retrospective review and look back at what happened in the season. I mean, like, you came at it from a competitive angle. I definitely did not. This is probably the first season where I didn't do any competitive events just because of new location and everything, but you definitely did with nationals and everything. So how did you find the season in general?
I thought it was good. It was a really good season. I did find it hard at the start to get a competitive deck that I felt like I vibed with. I initially stuck with Erupting only because at the start of the season I didn't know what to play and I didn't have anything built, so went to a winner box locally here in Christchurch, and all I had was this Erupting deck that I initially built before Asent Auckland, planning to take it there. Played a few games with it back in FTC and hated it because I bricked every single game, so I never played it. And then when I got to this winner box, it's like, you know what, I don't want to play. I'll just play Erupting, and it won. It did really well, and Erupting continued to do well throughout the season, so I ended up playing that a lot.
You actually mentally flashbanged your locals with it.
I did. It was fantastic. It was really good. Like I liked it, and we had actually a couple of new people that were playing Erupting, which was really cool to see. Different takes on it. We saw an Arasana Erupting, which is pretty fun. What wasn't as good, but it was definitely spicy and fun.
All you need to say was Arasana Erupting. I already know it's not as good. It's fine.
Yeah, but no, it was cool. I think it was the other good thing about this season is there was a lot of diversity. There was a lot of new strategies. I found a lot of, I tried lots of different decks. I wasn't just on Rye this season, so no, it was good.
God, I'm so glad that you actually like grew up a little bit, stepped off that. It's such a big. No, like I feel that though.
I still like my boy. My boy.
This new set though definitely was cool. I remember the moment I saw the art for Tony 2B, the CSR, I was like, this is my man. I'm building this guy right the fuck now. I need to look like this immediately. No, but I looked at Swords and Auras and I was like, this looks like a really fun gameplay. Guardian is exactly what I wanted from the game, which was build wide, build a lot of allies. I loved the aesthetic of a lot of the allies going into the game. When I started June last year, I saw like Esteem Knight, Banner Knight, and stuff, and I was like, that looks cool as hell. I saw Mordred; he was my first champion because they all look the same. They had the Knights aesthetic, and I love that. Then we see Tenoris, and he has the same kind of aesthetic, and his whole thing is build wide with just knights and stuff like that. Build a big board of that stuff. I saw the art for like Summon Sentinels, and I was like, this looks cool. Robot Knights. Obviously, we didn't quite get the Robot Knights, but that's okay. We still got Mordred, no, Tenoris. I'm so, dude, it's actually like a mental tick at this point. I'm too ingrained with that guy.
They're one and the same.
I actually, yeah, they're both literally me. But like, yeah, I love Tenoris's gameplay. And then obviously Jimmy showed the other way you can build them, which is just you build tall. You build a lot of, like, you build around domains and then you sack it all and you do one massive, like, lethal swing. It's a cool deck, and I love that Tenoris can be built both ways. He's a really, really cool champ. I loved it a lot. So, like, obviously, you know, some of my favorite cards in this game come from Neos. I like, again, I saw some Sentinels. I saw the art of Assemble the Ancients. They all looked super cool. The one card that ended up sticking with me that I did try and build a deck around quite a lot. I bought my playset the moment it came out. Maybe a little bit too hastily, but
Yeah.
was definitely quite fun. Was Neos Elemental. I built like 1 or 2 decks around him. Again, I'm not a very competitive player, so there's definitely probably ways that you could build them. I did enlist the help of a few competitive players to try and help me build one, and it did not turn out as well as I'd hoped, which was so depressing. But definitely one of my like favorite cards there from the entire set. It just looked so cool. Well, like what about you? Surely ALC brought out, in the mass amount of cards that we brought out, they gotta have brought out a card that like linked with you, even if they didn't bring out any Rye cards.
Yeah. I mean, hey, well, okay. So this could technically be a right card. It just isn't in space right now.
Right.
Maybe with the sideboard, with this new
Oh, you're
sideboard.
so right. You're so right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be putting a few of these in my Rye sideboard. I think.
Yep.
Is Tether and Flames. That is my favorite card. I think it's super fun getting to play with it in the Merlin list that Glenn had. That was super cool.
That's
I think
so
that,
true.
I think Tether and Flames is just a cool design, giving us a negate and
Yeah.
a different element, and also having it fit with the flavor of having the damage, and it's unpreventable as well. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely, it's one of those things you can like strangle your opponent if they literally can't take the damage. You can really like hold them.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think it adds a new avenue to this sort of. Fire was always very aggressive. There was no really controlly aspects to it.
Yeah.
But this kind of let you go down that avenue of being a lot more
Yeah.
controlling, and having a different gameplay style.
I think it's cool because it just punishes players for interacting with you essentially. Like if they try and stop you from doing your thing, they're either taking a minuscule fireball or they're taking, like, they have to negate the card. Which like we'll talk about it later. Some of like the new set definitely seems like it's bringing in more interactions, and Tether may actually see its place in Rydex coming forward, which could be super cool.
I definitely think it has a spot.
Yeah.
I think, and like as a card, if we didn't have to worry so much about allies,
Yeah.
I definitely think that Tether would already be in there because it's still a really good card.
A lot of the cards that we saw in ALC always felt like they were maybe one card off being, like they were one other card, like supplementary card off being great. Neos Elemental is, I felt like that. I felt like this is a great card if we have a way to more consistently make tokens quicker, because it's 10 cost and it goes down by 1 for everything. But it's kind of like if you're slamming a Majestic Spirit that gets outed easier than Majestic Spirit does, or it does less than Majestic Spirit does when it hits the board. So it's just not as worth to dump your entire hand for it. Yeah. Also, I hated playing it into Serene Luxem Xander because it would just say, cool, Excalibur, it's gone.
Yeah.
My least favorite deck going into the new meta, going into the ALC meta, was definitely going up against Serene Luxem Xander, because it, like, there was 2 versions. One of them is definitely weaker, but it was the one that I hated, which was like the prison heal version. It was like it played a ton of fog effects, it played a ton of ways to stop you from doing the game, and then it healed from it. It was the slowest play game ever, and it essentially was. It was just a prison heal. It didn't let you do anything, and then it healed up anything that you could do anyway. So it was such an annoying, slow deck to play into. That was definitely my like least favorite deck of the entire set. I'm sure you probably had a different one, because like I know that Ryan Erupting probably are much more okay going into that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, it's still a tough matchup. I think no matter what deck you play into, Serene Luxem, it's always going to be a challenge. Like, because Serene Luxem is just so consistent and so consistently strong.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really hard to beat. I think probably the worst odds you've got obviously are playing allies.
Yeah.
Probably the best odds you've got is playing something that does big bursty damage,
Mm.
like Rye, Erupting, Eternal Kingdom, those sorts of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I would still say that my least favorite deck, and it didn't really see. I mean, it did pretty well early on, but after people learned how to play into it, uh, it got a lot worse. Was the Fire Aggro Xanders that we were seeing right at the start of
Yeah,
the season.
dude, it was Xander for both
Yep.
of us. The low to the ground and the high both of them.
Yeah, oh, like this deck, and like I'm just gonna call out here, shout out, call out to Joseph Klopper in Christchurch. He played this deck religiously at the start of the season,
Right.
and that man he took years off my life playing into this deck because it is so frustrating to play into. Not to mention the man who pilots it. But no, Joseph's great. But Aggro Xander, man, that deck is there were lines like if you lost the dice roll, there were
Mm,
genuinely lines where you just couldn't really do anything about it.
right.
By you having a really good resolute stand, or by you skipping leveling up and playing a safeguard amulet. But
Man,
even then, they
skill
could
issue.
just yeah. Well, hey, that's the Clopper line. That's the Clopper special. He always says that skill issue, and you know what? It was. But to be honest, like I think I, I think I ended up beating him quite a lot near the end of
Mm,
it, and then I made him swap, which is great.
nice.
No, but
It
no, yeah,
happens.
no, Aggro Xander, super. I just felt it was super unfun to play into.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was healthy for the game, and I'm glad that it kind of lost popularity because it is not a fun deck to play into.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's super like I mean, especially into new players like who have slower decks. No one wants to play into that deck if
Oh,
you're
yeah. Yeah.
like even as an experienced player who plays competitively. I hated playing into it. New players, no, like it just feels horrible to play into.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair. Honestly, it like
Mm.
the one saving grace, the one reason why I didn't put aggro fires into there is because the games are over just quickly. Like versus the prison
Yeah, that is
heal,
fair.
like
That's fair.
the Serene Luxem Xander prison heal version is just you're there until time. Like you might have the out. It was the same reason that the devs gave for banning Reckless was like it's probably 99% sure that guy's winning the game, but there's the 1% that they might not. You might draw the out, they might draw like shit, or maybe don't like get the card they need, and it's that 1% that you're like I might win the game, so I've got to stay here and tough it out. Aggro Xander is like I've won the game and I've won it in less than 15 minutes. Let's go second game. It's like I'm gonna
Yeah,
lose the set. I'm probably gonna lose the set to Serene Luxem Xander too. Yeah, it's just my time investment. I want to get home and I want to go eat some dinner or something like that after a locals game. I'd rather not sweat for an entire hour versus 15. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
As much as I dislike Xander though, as much as we both dislike the Xander there, I still can't probably say that he was like I don't like Xander gave access to class bonuses on stuff, which were annoying. The level 3 Xander definitely, the reveal triggers were annoying as hell. So I can say that I dislike that specific variant of him, but I don't think Xander himself, I'm not like I hate Xander. I just disliked some of the cards that he got access to because of class bonus. Like, Poison Dagger on your side. Um, on my side, definitely like the Luxem cards were just so stupid sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it had all of the outs
Yeah.
like those decks. Like well, I mean the Serene one has all of the outs. The aggro one just has a stupid, crazy high roll.
Yeah, the out is kill your
That
opponent before they can do
yeah
anything.
exactly and that's what they do and they do it very consistently. But I mean, like luckily I think in this format I actually found a deck that I don't think I find it more enjoyable than playing Rye, only because I
Mm,
just really like playing Rye.
right.
But probably my favorite deck from that came from this season, from the set, was Eternal Kingdom. That
Yeah.
deck, so fun,
Yeah.
so super fun to play. Like, oh my god! Like, I played it for the weekend in Dunedin, played it into Glenn twice, into his Merlin list. I made him sweat both games. I lost both matches, admittedly. Played him once on the Saturday, once on the Sunday. I lost both of them. I lost them 2-1-2, so I got a game on him, made him sweat. Uh, but though the Eternal Kingdom, super fun deck. Like I think it's one of the more enjoyable experiences I've had playing the game. It just feels like you're doing something super fun. It's a really cool combo. And to be honest, when you do the big combo and you smack someone for 54, no one complains about it. They just they laugh and they go, "Holy shit, that was so fun."
Yeah. I think Tenoris is probably one of the most fun like champion archetypes that came out of ALC. Like
I would agree.
You know, you've got Cleric, which has, I feel like Cleric should have been the most fun. Cleric had so many cool little things they could do between potions and brewing stuff and herbs and star calling. Like there was so many cool things that Cleric should have done, and it just didn't find the lines to do it consistently enough for it to really be a worthwhile investment, right?
Hey,
Like
well, just you wait. I guarantee you, like on God, Glenn is bringing this. Glenn is bringing it to
Glenn has made it.
Worlds.
Yeah. What do I know? I'm a stinky non-competitive player. He's a nationals, like he's a worlds qualifier. He'll fix something. There'll be something going on there.
Oh my God. Going back to the decks though, I think, or the champions that we had, I think I guess you could call them lineage break champions, the elemental champions.
Hmm.
Cool idea. Didn't see much play in the
Yeah.
competitive like sense. I mean, there was some early rumblings with Pokwalk and whatnot. I
Bro, how do you
mean,
always screw up the name? How do you do that? How do you
what?
always
No,
read?
what is, bro? Okay, like, look, okay, let's sidebar here for a little bit because we
Okay.
started our channel with the ALC. Uh, this man has never stopped making fun of me for the way that I pronounce the words.
Womp
Look,
womp.
I look, I did not major in English. I majored in IT, so you can fuck off.
You know what?
I will continue to pronounce the cards however I like. Dala is an awesome card.
Yeah, I mean, you say Scepter of Lumia as well. It's got an N in it.
No, I'm just gonna keep saying Lumia now because it just
Okay.
annoys you at this point. Like you just constantly bring it up,
Oh
and you
my
know what?
god.
I'm gonna say whatever. Because you know what? No one except you corrects me.
Oh no, yeah, I mean you can say whatever you want. It's just I'm the editor. I'll be the one editing it into a little montage.
Yeah,
Ha ha ha. No,
that was quite funny. I didn't actually realize how much I messed it up until I saw that clip.
No, I will agree with you though. Like on those what are no longer called lineage break champions, like the elemental style champions, really cool idea. Really cool concept. I would love to see them go more in the future. Like the thing is, because uh MRC is bringing out support for all the new, for all the classes, and they have said in the design notes that they're not going to bring out any like advanced element stuff for Cambria, like which was all the original champions like Crux and stuff like that. So we're getting support for them in the form of basic element stuff. If we see support for those classes that are basic elements, this is what your lineage break quotation marks champion is good for, playing lower to the ground. Their idea is they want to close out the game before your opponent gets to level 3, and now becomes you just have an advantage. Once you're level 3, you just are at the advantage. There's no go back and forth. From playing Mordred for 6 months, I know for a fact, once I see you level up into level 3, like I am on the back foot. I was already on the back foot the moment I leveled into Mordred, but now I'm like even further behind. You have an advanced element, you have more HP.
You're on a
Yeah,
clock.
exactly.
Mm.
And I think support for these other guys could absolutely make them better. A lot of these new ones, the ones in ALC, actually do have really cool effects, right? Like Polkork being able to reduce the price of reaction cards and stuff. Nico having that incredible, like Nico Mill is such a funny deck to go into. I don't know if you've faced it before, but it is such a funny
Oh yeah, I
deck.
have.
It's a cool concept, and it will probably just get better with more stuff. I mean, we'll talk about it later, some of the spoilers, but some of them already look good for this. And then like Vanitas, okay, I would it's Vanitas or Vanitas, wherever you come from in the world, however you prefer to pronounce it. Those two are, I swear to God, those are both valid pronunciations. Except,
Vegeta.
yeah, actually, yeah, he's actually give him black hair that's like spiked up. I think that would be very fun, and a giant widow's peak, a really prominent widow's peak. That would be great.
Yeah.
But he, like, wind element, really cool. He's a very different one in terms of his design. I think we can both agree on that. He already has a level 1 and a level 2, and they reward you for playing a pure lineage of wind. But with the new support for them, I reckon we'll probably see more usage of the lineage break champions, or I'm still just going to call them lineage break champions. We'll see more support for them, and we'll see more play from them, and they might be the meta next set. Who knows? Somebody might cook something.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what we can do, and there is definitely at least one spoiler that we will talk about later on. For one of them, that's pretty cool.
Keep in mind, this is not the Banner Night Stew spoiler. This is not the one that we are
No,
specifically giving out.
no.
That is on May the 8th. That will be out later on. Don't worry about it. This is just one that came out later on in the design notes.
Yes,
And
exactly. Yeah, no, we're recording this on the evening of the 2nd of May, New Zealand time.
New Zealand time.
Yeah, the design notes have just come out. It was really good timing.
Yes, exactly.
and very, right place, right time. So yeah, sticking on like what we had in ALC, I mean, I think that there's definitely cards in the set that I think, I mean, for me, they're not like bad cards. I think they're good cards, and I think they're well designed. But they're cards that just make me go, ugh. Just the Grown test is real hard
Okay,
on them,
yeah.
and I think like for me at least, like the card that whenever I see it on the stack on the other side of the table, just makes me groan is Rococo. Like that damn card in Aggro Xander, it goes back to me not liking the Aggro Xander list, but
Hmm.
when they slam 2 Rococos, like they're doing 5 damage, with when they play a Rococo and then swing with it, and then if they've got an Arthur that's 6, like it's just
It's a lot of damage for one.
it, yeah, for 1 cost.
For
That's the
one
thing. It
cost, like
costs 1,
it's a
and if
very
you could
cost efficient card.
if you could time it right, you can technically do 3 of these. If you use a bauble, like so, if you play one and then you have your lower influence, and then you use the bauble. Once you've played it, you'd use a bauble to draw another, play another one, and then you play another one. Like you can technically play 3 of these in a turn,
Yeah.
but you don't even really need to. You can play 2, and it's still just as devastating.
Yeah, I mean, without Arthur, it's still like on a poison dagger turn when you'd most likely be playing this, it's still 5 damage each. Like 5 damage a pop
Yeah,
is huge. 10 damage if
for
you have 2 of these, and you're probably holding them for the end. You know this is your kill line because people don't expect you to be able to kill with a grand total of 5 cards in hand if Rococo is one of those cards. Like they don't expect
yeah,
you to be able to deal 10 damage with those. Maybe a Rending Flames. Maybe a Rending Flames is the only out to that, but you knew like you have a sword or you have a fiery momentum, and if you're not Lorraine in you're playing Xander. I mean Xander can actually play Rending Flames, so maybe we shouldn't. But uh, I don't know. I feel like it's not a very likely thing. You don't expect it to just come out and hit you
no.
like that.
And and the worst part about the Aggro Xander list is they would play Rening Flames and they would have Assassin's Ripper. So if they couldn't get through
Yeah,
you with the Poison Dagger and Makokos, they'll just play a Ripper and then they'll use it and they'll swing at
yeah,
you with a Rening Flames for 12. And it's
exactly.
like, man, like the pure damage output that you can get off of that is just
Yeah.
insane.
It is really, really insane. Honestly, yeah. The I feel like it just comes back to it. Like my grown card was on the opposite side of the scale. It was probably either Luxem Sight or Excalibur. Probably Excalibur. If I'm being completely honest, it was Excalibur because it was a 2 cost removal, which I hope we see
Mm.
more stuff like that in the game because interaction is good. I would prefer not to just sit there for 2 minutes and watch my opponent do their turn and then get my turn. Like it's nice to be able to interact and feel like I'm having an influence on the game in some way besides just what cards I can put down on my side of the board. But I think we're in a time of the game where, having removal like that level of removal, just destroy target object, insane. We haven't seen that in a lot of other stuff. It's kind of hard to come across like 2 cost removal like that. It's obviously it's advanced element, so there is that restriction of it. Uh, but having it and with the consistency that Serene Luxem Xander can get to it, it makes it so that you probably can guess that if you have a problem piece on the board, they'll use it to get rid of it. And they'll
Mm.
probably have it in hand. So it does like I play something, I've built up an ally, or I've built up something, and I have an Eternal Kingdom on the board because I liked playing that version of Tony, and they get to level 3 and they're like, "Cool, I'll Excalibur your Eternal Kingdom," and I'm like, it feels bad. It sucks. Yeah, that's the card I usually feel pretty bad about. But at the same time, I feel bad about it just because of the current meta we're in. I think in the future, with more and more interaction, I'll get very, very used to it, like to that
Mm.
level of interaction, and my deck will fundamentally change. It's another reason. Excalibur is another reason why I didn't play Neos Elemental. Like I think again, Neos Elemental is a card that I just want to harp back on it. It is a card that had potential so much, but just
Yep.
I just didn't see it played because it did what Creation's Will Tony did, but a turn slower, and it didn't do nearly as much damage. The idea was you get a bunch of tokens on the board to make this thing cheap. You chuck it out. It's not just for cheap because you could play Eternal Kingdom and put Neos Elemental out instead. You play like you have ways to play it. 10 cost is steep, but it's not impossible to meet in this game. You can absolutely play that, especially because it costs 1 less per token. But the idea is also tokens buff it up. It's a 1/1, but it gets stronger for every token. So you want more tokens anyway. You need this thing to be big. It has a bunch of keywords. It pretty much grabbed every single keyword, but it also grabbed hindered, which is a shit keyword for it to have. It's really
Yeah.
like coming in rested, even though it has vigor, so it'll stand back up at the end of your turn. It comes in rested, so it's not usable on the turn you play it. And I've tried it in a wind deck with like Rallied Advance or Second Wind, I was never able to play those cards because normally when I'm able to play Eternal Kingdom, when I'm able to play Neos Elemental, I'm playing Neos Elemental like that turn.
Mm.
I maybe want to hold it off by a turn, but I normally don't have enough tokens on the board to make this thing cheaper because the most consistent tokens that Tony can make is the Automata drones, which are either 1/1s or with some of his things that create them with buff counters, a 2/2. A 2/2 is not hard to out, especially considering that a lot of the ally cards that we see in the game are 2/3s. So they can very happily smack into your Automata drones. They won't die, but the Automata drone will. And it feels really, really bad to have that happen. Just because the game allows you to target anything you really want on the board for attacks, like any allies or champion. So that kind of sucks. You could try the funny herb farmer, Tony, and go for like
the
fertile grounds.
Special.
I tried that and I just found that it went too slow. It didn't do what I wanted. I need to see fertile grounds early or this is not worth it. And I need to see fertile herbs and harvest herbs. And harvest herbs feels like a shit card to see late because it makes me a single token. And then also it's got floating memory, but it's class bonus floating memory. So it's not even useful for me in that. All I need it to do is create me one token and then I never want to see this card again. Essentially, if I could only play one and consistently see it, it would be great. But I don't. And I don't want to play it beyond the first one because once I have my first token on the board, Fertile Grounds is going to copy that one. I don't care if I have multiple different copies of tokens. I don't need multiple different. I just need one. And yeah, so it's hard to get Neos Elemental to do anything. And once it's out, there are so many ways to out it because ally tokens are the easiest form of tokens to out currently. Cleaves will get rid of them, and Cleaves will also kill Neos Elemental because it's a state-based action. He'll drop down an HP to whatever your token amount is, that kind of thing. He dies to Cleave. He dies to removal, Anger the Skies, Cometfall, all that. Screws him over. He had potential, but just not quite enough.
Yeah. I mean, we may see more support for Neos Elemental. I would love.
That's a sneaky little. That was a sneaky little. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. No, I would love to put this card in a deck. I think Neos Elemental is super cool.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the cards I was super excited about when I saw it because I love go wide decks, love token decks.
Yeah.
But it just again it's a product of the way the game is played. When you have a whole bunch of tokens go wide, it just means that if they've got higher quality allies they can put on the other side of the field, they're always going to clear them because even if you don't have a Neos Elemental, a whole bunch of little allies can take out their bigger allies, so they're always going to try and get rid of them if they can. So it's not like a thing where you can just leave them on the board, like they have to deal with them. So I think product of the game, it makes those sort of ally strategies harder. But let's see what comes out.
I will say, there was one thing, as Siladar in his anniversary stream did mention with the whole Sylvie recollection, he mentioned, this is our first look at tribal decks. He did mention that they are looking at Automata Tribal, like an idea for that, which means because all the Automata drones are indeed Automata, there might be a way to make them more survivable in future with cards that come out for that set, maybe, like for that tribal deck, if that ever makes, sees the light of day. That might make them more survivable, and if they are, well, it's probably just better to play them instead of Neos Elemental. You probably just want them to be a win con. Like it's a big issue, but maybe we might be able to see it become more viable if the allies become more survivable, able to stick around longer anyway.
You know, it'd be a really cool card.
Yeah,
a Banner Knight for tokens for the
hey, now you're cooking.
Yeah, that would be very viable Banner Knight.
I mean, we've got Seasoned Shieldmaster, which works for fostered allies. We've got Banner Knight, which works for that. We've got Phalanx, which works for humans. Give us one for automatons.
Do it. Just do it. Just give us one for the token automaton allies you control. Get +1. That'd be sick.
Such a niche card, but
no, well, the thing is, it would be niche, but I mean, I guess you could still it would play in the deck that you want it to play in.
Yeah. Well, right?
It would do well, and it means that ally decks wouldn't be able to abuse the shit out of it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is a lot of the cards that ended up getting the cards that Crystal Empowerment was one of the perfect cards that when it got banned, it was literally just I mean, it was printed in a way that it didn't have any restriction on what could really use it. So it just saw usage in decks which were suddenly able to pump out way more damage than they should have way too early because of that. I say all this, Saladar was probably sitting there like, no, we intended for this. It was just, no. I mean, I hope that going forward we can get, cards are better protected by their text. They're more confined, not confined, because I would not like to see cards relegated to only being able to be used in certain decks. I think one of the joys of this game, of any trading card game, is being able to make a deck with cards from lots of different areas, right? Like it's one of the most fun things is getting to build a deck that is your deck. It is very like personal in terms of what you've put into it, and that can get very muddled if every card is very specific in what it can be built in. It can kind of bog down that kind of stuff. It's fun.
I think Weaves has done a really good job of
Oh
like
yeah,
trying to
absolutely.
make the game as flexible as they can, while also trying to maintain the balance of
Oh,
we
hugely.
don't want a thing that's supposed to push you up 2 levels, because that Crystal Empowerment was designed to take you from 6, 7, 8 up to 8, 9, 10 sort of thing,
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than taking you from 1 to 3, which was the dangerous
yeah,
area. That's where we didn't want it to be, because that enabled so many
yeah, yeah.
stupid strategies.
Exactly, exactly.
Mainly Banner Knight. Yep.
For
Mainly
real.
Banner Knight being active on level 1.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, like that's the thing, right? So we saw like this set definitely included a lot of the cards that came out were cards that had specifically element bonus or class bonus, or as we just saw now, champion bonuses specifically. One of the coolest changes.
Mm.
I really, really like that because it means that even so, like it gives them the design space for the future. This card is not going to break future champions in this element or in this design. Like this card is specifically going to work with this champion. We can release new versions of champions, which we've seen they do that. And it might be better with that new version of the champion, but it's not going to be abused by another one, by a different champion with a different effect who happens to be in that same element. And the new set obviously worked really, really well with that. I think this set we've seen like they've obviously gotten to learn from any past mistakes they may have made, and going forward looking at all the analytics. So this was to me the best set release overall. And I'm a little bit biased because my favorite thing in the game got introduced in this set, which was the PvE mode. I have been
Mm.
screwing around with that, and it's so much fun. If the thing is, I play a lot of Magic Commander, which is meant to be their form of casual format, and it's a cool game. It's a cool game, but this PvE mode is so much more fun to me. Like from playing a lot of casual Commander to going to swapping and playing this PvE mode, it is night and day. So much more fun. The only downside is you have to find somebody who will play the game master and actually build a deck for that and stuff. The way to out that is in the main Discord. A few people actually already have that, and if you just ask in the main Discord, is anyone keen for a PvE mode? I guarantee you'll be able to get a pod of at least like 3 to 5 players. 5 is obviously the max. That you could play the PvE mode with. So if you haven't tried it already, absolutely give it out. Like give it a try. The game masters in the Discord already are insanely good, and they build very fun decks. Give that one a try. I don't know if you've tried it. Have you tried the PvE mode, Josh?
No, I
No.
remember you talking about it, and
Yeah.
we need to get more of the Banner Knights on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we can all jump in and have you run a game for us, because it does
Absolutely.
sound very fun.
It's
I
so
remember
much fun.
when I believe that was Ascent Ontario, they were trying that out, if I'm not mistaken, initially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Asent Ontario
Yeah.
is where it popped up first.
Yeah, because I remember we were trying. We heard about it, and I was like, "Get the rules! Get the rules!
Yeah, yeah,
Like, we
yeah.
need to we need to try. Let's try this out. It
Yeah,
sounds really
yep.
cool." Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, but no, that's awesome. Yeah, I really want to try it. It sounds really interesting. And yeah, I think it's it's a good way to move forward. I can't wait for there to be an official release of like a game master deck, like a
Oh,
big
yeah, yeah,
evil
yeah.
BBEG deck that they bring
Yeah.
out for people to run. I think that's going to be really cool.
That was what I was most excited about anyway from the news set.
And
Because obviously
and
you didn't play it. What then was so cool for the set for you then?
oh well, I mean during the set, I think, oh man, like new champions, new elements. I think having all the classes in play now is really cool. We got to see what Range is going to do. I think basically everyone thought it was going to be Ranger, as in like someone shooting a bow. So when we saw the guns, we're like, oh my god, blicky blicky blicky.
Absolutely.
Like we were like, what the hell? And then the guns came out. So yeah, no, I think it's super cool. I love seeing all the advanced elements. Yeah, love seeing all the classes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
I'm
mean,
pumped now.
one of the highlights of the season, right, was you went to nationals. This was probably it wasn't. I wouldn't. Is nationals bigger than Ascent? Would you say it's bigger than Ascent? It's one of the biggest competitive events you've
Uh
gone to so far. Is my point,
it
right?
I would argue that it's probably bigger than an Ascent in terms of, well, the potential, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously an Ascent is, you do the Ascent, and you do great, you can get qualifiers
Yeah,
to
yeah.
nationals for it. I think, which is probably the indicator that it is below nationals,
Right,
kind
yeah,
of.
yeah.
But Ascents are kind of like their own sort of special thing. It's a
Of course.
it's a big celebration of the game. Whereas, nationals is a let's get all the competitive people in there and let's see who's going to qualify. And for the first one, I think they did an incredible job. I think it ran really well. It was good fun. It was super exciting getting to go to Melbourne. I hadn't been to Melbourne before, so yeah, it's really fun.
Mm.
Good food, good people. Everyone was kind of hanging out afterwards, and obviously the being around the atmosphere, especially with Glenn. Like he just that weekend. I remember the moment. I'll never forget this moment. I was playing in the regionals there after because I did not make day 2. Uh,
Oh no.
um, yeah, no, yeah, no. Erupting was a bad call. But we live and we learn.
It be.
Um, yeah, but anyway, yeah, I remember the atmosphere just when Glenn won. I could hear, you could hear him. He was excited, and as he should be. And then when he pulled his CUR Lorraine, that was like everyone was just up on their feet cheering. It was such a cool event. And afterwards, there was no hard feelings. Everyone was just super chill. Everyone was going out for dinner and hanging out. It was such a good event, and I'm so glad I went.
I just remember sitting in the Discord and
Yeah.
listening, like, or like watching you post stuff about like, oh my god, dude, Glenn's up, Glenn's up. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like 4-1 now. It was really really cool to see like you and Jack and Caleb because they also went. Like
Mm.
posting about your results and stuff as you went. You never got sent any goddamn pictures, but like whatever, it's fine. I feel like once you've seen
We were
one.
busy.
Yeah, you know what? Once you've seen one haul of like sweaty TCG players, you've probably seen all the hauls of sweaty TCG players. If we're being completely honest here,
Yeah.
the nationals seemed extremely extremely cool, and I like that was. I feel like I could confidently say that was probably one of the highlights for you of the season. It would be one of the highlights for me as
Yeah.
getting to go
Yeah.
overseas and
Oh,
compete.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, like, yeah, it was the probably the biggest thing. I think the only other thing I'd actually probably put on par on this was just starting to do the Banner Night Stew
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like getting this channel going. Like it was a bit of a slog at the start, and
Yeah,
we kind of like we tried to rush into it. We were we
head
we didn't have a
first.
lot of
Yeah.
time. Yeah, we dove in head first, and we corrected ourselves a little bit, and we figured out what we wanted to do and how we were going to go forward. And yeah, no, I think between getting this started and kind of getting into the flow of all the content has
Oh
been it's
yeah,
been awesome.
yeah. No, absolutely. I feel quite the same on that, except like I'm the one who's locked in the basement, so it's
Yeah.
it's it's fine. You know what? No, I actually do. I really really did enjoy starting the channel. I'm gonna be honest. When I started like working on editing these videos with you, I did not expect stuff like us being announced as a spoiler channel. I'm gonna be 100%. I thought this was just gonna be like a fun little thing that we did on the side. So it is really really cool that Weebs Loki acknowledged us. Still waiting on the banner night that we can bite on, but whatever. That's cool, Sil. No, but it
We'll
is it
do it,
is
I promise.
it is a really 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 cool thing to be a part of because I did not see myself doing this when I thought about what I was going to do in 2024. It was not this, but I'll say that I am pleasantly surprised by it. So having a lot of fun with this. Um, but I think honestly, going through it all, we've definitely alluded to it enough throughout the entire thing. We are currently, I would say we're starting off in spoiler season now, and we've already hit a decent few spoilers. Like I think Sil spoiled 30 or so in the anniversary stream, and then on top of that we may or may not have just gotten another like 10 from from the design notes, which totally came out at the right time. It's all
Yeah, that
well and
was
good.
exactly when they were intending on releasing it, right?
Please,
Sile, right?
please don't,
Right?
please don't hurt us. It's so, I'm sorry. We were just looking for information. I'm so sorry, Sile.
I was looking for another article, right? And I saw it there, and I clicked on it, and I have the cards.
It's not our fault.
It's
But,
not our
like,
fault.
yeah, let's. In order to say, I would like to talk about a few of them because, like, we saw ALC ramped up the complexity of the game, not by much, or yeah, no, it was a decent amount. It was a decent amount.
Yeah.
It added some new keywords, but I say ramped up the complexity not by much because a lot of the cool new cards that we thought we're going to see play didn't. I mean, Arasana just didn't. Like, Star Calling was a mechanic which seemed easy from the outset, definitely proved to be a little bit more thinky and then just didn't see any play. So it doesn't matter anyway. Nobody will care about it up until Star Calling is a major thing. But this set has already brought in so many. Like, we're already seeing so many cards that are definitely going to see. I would say definitely going to see a lot of play just because of how good and easy they are to play. Like, their effects, the cost, what they, yeah, they're so good. I mean, you definitely saw a few in the recollection. You were messaging the chat about some of them that you were already extremely excited
Yeah.
about.
Oh
That
my
Tristan
god.
recollection, dude.
Bro, that deck. That deck is insane, and it is going to plague local events
Mm.
for ages.
Oh,
There are going to be people there who don't have the deck and have to play into about 5 or 6 of these every night, and are going to cry about it because
absolutely.
this deck is going to be so irritating to play into. I really, really, really want to talk about a card that I think is going to impact the meta a lot.
Right.
I think it's a really good card. I think it's really good. I think it's going to be really frustrating to see it played on the other side of the table. It's Stifling Trap. So this is a 2 cost card, right? It's a reaction card. It's fast speed.
Yep.
As class bonus, it is as class bonus assassin. If it's not your turn, you can remove 2 prep counters from your champion to activate it from your memory without paying its reserve cost.
Ooh, alternate
And the
costs. We love them.
effect, alternate cost, and or I mean, it already costs 2. Like, it's still not that bad.
Yeah. No.
Here's
Absolutely.
here's the effect. It deals 2 damage to an ally, and then it negates all of its on-enter triggers. Bro, Dungeon Guide? Fuck you. Here's my Stifling Trap. You don't get to level up, mate. Oh, you want to play your Ghosted Pendragon? I'm sorry, you don't get to draw any cards, loser.
I'd like to
Oh,
use
this
it on.
card.
I'd like to use it on Clumsy Apprentice. I think that would be very funny and silly. Imagine you play your
Well,
Clumsy Apprentice, you're like, oh,
no,
I'm gonna get to take a damage and draw, and I'm like, you don't get to do
no.
either of those things.
Honestly, this is the thing, right? With Clumsy Apprentice and Cemetery Sentry, people play those cards and then expect to draw another one, so they
Yeah,
cycle their turns in a certain way. So if you Stifling Trap them in the middle of that, they'll be like, "Oh shit, I needed that extra card to
that's
finish
really
what I was
fair.
gonna
Yeah.
do this turn." So like genuinely, as like playing Erupting, I thought about this card now, and I'm thinking playing Erupting. I'm like, man, if someone stumped me in the middle of that, it would genuinely piss me off.
Yeah.
I mean, this card is going to stop dungeon guides that I play, and it's going to fuck me off.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna want. It might be one of those cards that I want to rip up, but it's also
Yeah.
very, very
Well,
good.
the other thing about it, right? It deals 2 damage to a target ally, which is not insubstantial. Like that, like against a Cemetery or a Clumsy Apprentice, that's still killing them. And what are the decks that play those cards? It's decks that usually like to push for damage really early. And if you're
Mm,
getting rid of the thing, like one thing this game was very much so missing was the ability. For us to kill things before they got impact on the game, right? Like you
yeah.
can play an ally that doesn't have summoning sickness, it swings. Even if you kill it in response to the on-enter, it gets its on-enter effect. This not only will kill most allies, but it also gets to negate all of their on-enter triggers, so you get nothing out of that card, which is huge. And as you said, a lot of these early players, which are pushing for damage early, like these aggro players, they're building their turn around the fact that they're probably drawing an extra card off them. They'll change their hand up so that they can get the most value out of it. And if you say no to that and deprive them of the body on the board, that's huge. That's really, really big. It's really cool. Also, this stops Arthur's on enter. So you can
Yes,
no
it
longer be
does,
immortal.
and yep, it definitely does. It means that he doesn't get a choice. So you will, you can't rest him. So he's always going to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think the thing to point out with this is that it's going to be I mean, you can play it on your own turn. It's not going to be nearly as good
Yeah,
on
yeah.
your turn because you're just dealing 2 damage. I mean, don't doubt the fact though that this is still a 2 damage spell in or sorry, it is a skill, not a spell.
Very important.
It's 2 damage skill on in wind,
Mm,
which is huge
mm.
because there's one big thing that this game is missing is fast speed removal, and
Yeah,
the only way to really do it is in it's all damage based for the most part, but it's usually all in fire.
yeah, yeah,
And what the game needs, I mean, this isn't like I do think there is a card that needs to be there needs to be more cards that are hey destroy an ally,
yeah,
just destroy it outright, destroy
yeah.
an ally.
Give me an
It needs to be
Excalibur, but
normal,
yeah,
yeah. No, just an ally. It just needs to be
yeah,
destroy
yeah,
allies.
yeah.
Like, it needs to be a way they can pick apart allies without them being able to protect it. But I think this card is a really good I think this is honestly better than that card because I'm not going to use
Mm.
it to kill allies. I'm going to use it to stop dungeon guides,
Yep, yep.
and it's going to be it's this honestly it's going to impact the meta a lot. I think.
Yeah, and we're skipping over the fact that also you can, if it's not your turn, you can just activate it from your memory. So you can play your entire turn out, have nothing in your hand, and your opponent, if they see 2 prep counters on your champion or more, still have to respect that you might have this in your memory, and now they have to play very carefully. They're not going to know if it's there or not, because unless you played an imbue effect where you put it down, like you reserved it face up essentially, and then put it back face down, or they have a way to reveal your memory, they don't know if it's there. And even if it is, like, it's you got to play around it.
So yeah, if you really want to sell it, make sure you've got your 2 prep counters, and then keep looking at your memory, and your opponent will then constantly be thinking, wait,
Mind
do they have
games.
it? Do they
Yep.
not? Because on like genuinely I would just as a little tangent, the best water players that I've seen playing water decks, I've played into a lot of water decks recently, and they can tell you by far the ones that I struggled the most into are the ones who are able to manage their hands and
Yep.
keep 3 cards up, or not. They know when you're going to play Viridian Trinket, they can smell it coming, so they keep 5 up.
Yep.
Those are the scariest water plays to play into, and it's all because I have to then respect the fact that there may be a Frostbind, there may be a Song of Frost,
Yep.
and it's going to be the same thing, but this is way easier to do.
Yep.
2 prep counters is way easier to do than holding up 5 cards.
Considering that your champion gives you prep counters, the new Tristans give you prep counters, you can also remember that this is an assassin skill, which means Xander can also play it. So Xander 1 and 2 both getting that. So yeah.
Oh, actually, you just, now that you mentioned that, yeah, this
Xander
can
2
like
can bring back actions, right?
Deft Executor can bring this back. That's
Yeah,
gross.
exactly. Which is like, it's a really so, like, it's a cool card. Like, yeah. Speaking of negates though, there's other ones. Moving on swiftly, we've also got Incapacitate, which was another one I looked at. I really liked it. It's a 4-cost norm element. Another reaction, so it's fast speed. The class bonus is it costs 2 less. It's an assassin one, so 2 less for anyone who's an assassin, Xander or Tristan, or any more we may get in future. But the whole effect, the only effect, is negate target action card activation. Essentially, it's a hard negate, which is available to everyone, because it's just norm element. It's not a class bonus on the negate, it's just to cost reduce it. This is a negate which is available to all champions at the beginning of the game as a norm element, meaning it's not element restricted, so any deck can play this. It's going to cost 2 more if you're not an assassin, and if you're an assassin, it's a 2-cost negate target action card. It's insane. This is a cool card.
There are so many action cards in this game. It might as well just say counter target card activation.
Yeah.
It's obviously, I mean, it's obviously not quite as good as that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be stopping a Gildas hitting the field or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that. But there are so many action cards. I don't think there's like a single deck that plays no action cards.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is going to get a lot of stuff, and there's no way to get around it. Like there is this Frostbind where they can pay 2. That this just stops it, and
Yeah.
then that's it.
Hard
You know,
negate.
like
Right.
it is. This is a really good card.
Yeah.
I think it's the game. I think based on these 2 cards alone, is gonna slow down a lot.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of respect that you're gonna have to pay open hands now, which is one of those things that you really haven't had to do before into a lot of decks. You haven't really had to respect open hands unless you're playing an ally deck and you think they're gonna play a Resolute Stand. But now it's like you're really gonna have to keep an eye on what your opponent's got.
Not even open hands, because Stifling Trap can just straight up be played from your memory. So it's
that is true. You're gonna have to. There's a lot more that people are gonna have to think about.
Yeah. Mind games are very real in MRC, and I love that. I really love. Is it actually? Speaking of mind games, I would love to chat about the effect of the new. It was the CUR they revealed. So it's the new Collector Ultra Rare for the set, but it is Tristan Shadow Reaver, which is a different version from the champion version of Tristan we saw before. So 4 Tristans got revealed in that anniversary stream, which is wild to me, like actually insane. But this one is level 3. It's also Umbra elements. So now we have 2 separate versions, but it's not like the 2 advanced elements you normally see with champions. This one here has a special effect where she can level up into champions of the same base level that she is. And if you do, you draw 2 cards. So she can level sideways. She can level into the other Tristan if she wants. Because again, Tristan Lineage, you still are going to have to, like, well, unless we get a champion which is level 3 and doesn't have a lineage requirement. Currently, the only one you can level up into is Tristan Shadow Dancer, which is the Recollection one. So this isn't a Recollection card. This is going to be available in main set. Her cool effect is that on enter, you will banish the top 4 cards of target opponent's deck face down. As long as they're banished, you may play those cards ignoring their elemental requirements. So this is we've seen this effect in other games before of banishing cards and then getting to play them from other people's decks. Very, very cool effect. It also is important to note that it says banish them face down, meaning that the opponent that gets them banished is not allowed to look at those cards. They are considered private information for you as the person that has banished them. So it's another mind game. It's another mind game. You have banished 4 cards from their deck and they don't get to know what cards you banished. You will. So it could be even more pertinent not to play those cards because maybe it is a combo piece that they really want to see and they just keep digging for it. They've spent a while digging for it and you instead have buried it down face down. Another fun thing is... Yes, sorry?
I cannot wait to hit 3 Pendragons off this and then just stare at a Merlin player and smirk.
Because you can play them.
And just yeah, exactly. And I mean, there are weapon cards that Tristan has.
Yep.
So well, not just weapon. It doesn't have to be
regalia,
a weapon card. Any regalia. Yeah. So I mean, you know, Pendragon's popping off here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, like I think it's gonna be a super fun. Oh my god, there's so many lines popping into my head now.
Yeah, honestly.
Imagine Arcane Disposition.
Oh yeah,
like,
no,
Tristan getting to play Arcane Disposition.
Huge. Like honestly, reckless conversion. No, but I think one of the funniest things as well is if you end up banishing one of their dungeon guides, you can then play that dungeon guide to level up into the other Tristan, and you draw 2 from this one. So the 2 you banish, you essentially just cycle and get to level up and get the on enter for Shadow Dancer, which is a very good on enter as well. The other cool thing to mention, if you end up using this card's first effect to level up into another champion at the same level, then you use a D-level effect like any of the Innovate cards, you will D-level into this version. So you will not lose HP, you'll not go down in HP, you'll recover 5 and you won't reduce HP. You also will remain Umbra Element. You obviously won't get the on-enter effect for this one because it's not entering the battlefield, it's just an object, it's just removing the previous card from its lineage. But the fact that you will remain Umbra Element despite using the Innovate effect means D-level cards, which usually the D-level is not good, it's not fun, but the effect is usually quite good to compensate for that. You now get that essentially for free. You're not D-leveling badly, so it's really, really good. And then when you choose to re-level, you draw 2 again. So very, very good card. This Tristan is insanely good. I like it.
All of the Innovates are really good with this. The ones I can think of is the deck is already wind, so it's kind of built around that.
Yeah, Innovate Agility.
Playing Innovate Agility is going to stop you from dying, so the deck's going to be super grindy and super annoying for your opponents. Or you play Water, and then you're able to draw 2, D-level, draw 2, and then you level up and you draw another 2.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot of value off of it, and I think the biggest thing is, yes, going from level 3 to level 2 normally is really bad because you lose your advanced element. But
absolutely.
At the end of the day, probably the most important thing when you think about it is that even if you're recovering 5, you're also losing 3 health. So effectively, you're only recovering 2.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's always worth noting. And if you're playing in the Guardian line, his health goes up by 5 every time. So your Innovates are effectively doing nothing. They literally do nothing for you unless you can immediately level up again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a very I either way, I really do like the new Tristan. I think she's very, very cool. She obviously, we got a few cards spoiled with her. The other levels in her lineage all revolve around either giving you prep counters or getting draws off prep counters. So I think it's extremely cool that we got one of the first efficiency cards we got spoiled. So efficiency, obviously the keyword that means it costs level less to activate. So if you're level 3, it's going to cost 3 less to activate. And any effect that increases your level will also decrease the cost of the card. It's a 6 cost, normal element, slow speed card. An action which doubles the number of preparation counters on your champion. And then if there are 8 or more, you gain agility 3 for that turn. Agility 3 is just a keyword which essentially says at your end step, pick up whatever X is. And in this case, X is 3. So you'll pick up 3 cards from your memory back to your hand, essentially allowing you to have more interaction with your opponent, which is really, really cool. So if you have a lot of fast speed cards, really, really cool to have agility. This doubling your prep counters, this new Tristan has so many cards which deal with either being prepared or doing extra effects, if depending on your prep counters or how much you prepare it. So, and assassin cards do that in general. They like prep counters. Every assassin card almost likes prep counters. This doubling them is insane. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no, I think Mastermind Scheme is good. I think my general rule of thumb for anything, for most games in general, but I think trading cards especially, anything that gives you multiplication is always going to be huge. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
double, like the fact that it says double is really cool, and people are going to be able to abuse the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Um, I think I would like to see some more preparation counter payoffs, kind of like the stifling trap. If we can see a few more cards like that, then I think this card is going to go way up in
Oh,
stocks.
huge. Yeah, yeah,
I
huge.
mean, I mean, realistically, the fact is, if you're playing this at level 3, it's cost 3. It's pretty damn good. The agility 3 is nice.
Yeah.
I would probably, I'd be willing to play it without going to play this. You know,
Without going to
I
8.
think yeah, I think if you're going 1 to 2 is probably not great.
Oh,
That's
yeah, yeah,
definitely like
yeah.
desperation. 2 to 4 is kind of. I would do the 2 to 4 if it was pushing me to Tristan level 2,
Yeah.
because if you have 4, it lets you draw 2 cards. Um, and then 3 to 6 is pretty good, and then obviously 4 to 8 and above is just amazing.
I think we might skip through the slime ones. Okay, so Silvery Collection I was the most happy about. I was extremely excited about it, but I think these are all cards. Most of them seem like cards which will get better with other cards. Like the Silvery Collection is the one I'm the most interested in seeing because it seems like the idea is it's a tribal deck, which is every card I feel is meant to supplement other cards in the deck. It's a tribal deck. It's what it's meant to do. Every card should in some way uh, lean towards the aesthetic of the tribal deck. It should help you in some way, and we see that. We absolutely see that with a lot of them. The biggest thing that I saw was we got a new spirit, with Spirit of Slime. Incredible. It's draw 7, so nothing's changed there. We're great. It gets an inherited effect, so essentially, as long as it's in your lineage, you get this effect, and it has no way to banish itself from your lineage. But you ignore the elemental requirements of basic element slime cards you activate. So that means like water, wind, and fire are all enabled for you as long as they have slime in the type line. So that's cool. That's cool as hell. It is a normal element spirit as well, though, which means that anything that's not a slime element card is going to be not. You can't play that. You cannot play Creative Shock. I'm not playing a Sink into Oblivion. Nothing like that. I don't know why those are the two cards that popped into my head first, but you're not playing either of those.
Creative
Um,
Shock's fair enough.
yeah, Creative Shock's fair enough. I don't
Yeah,
know where
yeah,
Sink
yeah,
to
yeah.
Oblivion came from. It's
Yeah.
got Sylvie in the art, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
in the other one. But yeah, so you can't play those unless you play an element champion on top of this, because it doesn't limit what champions can be played on top. So you could play a Vanitas, you could play your Nico, you could play your Polkork or anything and get access to all those elements again. Or you could
It's
play
gonna be
Prismatic.
pretty.
You could also just play
It,
Prismatic Sanctuary and then get
I
access to all of them anyway.
mean,
Super
yeah,
but also that's kind of redundant because you already have access to all
yeah,
the spirit.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I like it. I think it's really cool. We didn't get any new Sylvie level 1 or 2. The Sylvie level 3 is the complete opposite of Spirit of Slime in terms of what it does. Well, kind of. It's like on the other end of the scale, I'd say. It's the other spectrum side. It enables all advanced element slime cards for you, which is really cool. And we got spoiled a few advanced elements, which we'll talk about soon. The other effect is the next slime card you activate this turn, when it comes in, obviously, is going to cost 2 less, and it enters with 2 additional buff counters on it. So most of the advanced element slimes, and indeed the other slimes we saw, are all 2 costs, so they'll be free, and they enter with 2 buff counters. And the one thing Sylvie likes is survivable big allies, and that is exactly what she's getting here. It's really, really cool. I like it a lot. I think this the Sylvie Slime Sovereign and the Spirit of Slime just make for a perfect tribal deck. It's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, I,
Um,
I, I, I think it's really important to have the tribal theme. I think
yeah, yeah,
it became it's a huge part of what Sylvie is. And I think slimes are one of those things everyone wanted to see more of them.
yeah,
So
exactly.
getting an entire deck around it is really cool.
Really cool. Yeah,
And I think it's worth noting that all of these advanced element slimes, sorry, all of these advanced element slimes are from the ones from Cambria. So they're Arcane, Crux, Luxem, and Terra. They all cost 2, which means that you are going to get to play one of them for free when
yeah.
you level up to Sylvie.
If you have it in your
Um,
hand, yep.
yeah, obviously if you have it in your hand, but they are all very, very good.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think I'll quickly go through them.
Yeah,
So we've got the Storm Slime, which is arcane. Pride 3, on enter as a spell, deal damage equal to the number of slime cards you have in your banishment, which is cool. I mean, you're going to be banishing stuff to level up, so you're probably going
yeah,
to have a bit of damage there.
yep,
It's a 3/1, so a little more squishy.
yep,
And on death, you can banish 2 cards at random, draw 2 cards.
yep.
Okay,
Not
I'd
terrible.
probably say it's not terrible. I would probably say it's, unfortunately, I wish it was better. I love Arcane, but I would say it's probably my least favorite out of all of them. But it's
Yeah.
still pretty good.
Yeah, it's still a cool
Uh,
card. I think it's just the other ones are just that much cooler that I'm like, I lean
yeah,
towards them so much more. It's
the
not a
other
terrible
ones do a
card though.
lot. Yeah, like so we have the Crux one, which let's be real, we all knew was going to be busted. Crux is fine, people. Ethereal Slime 2 cost, Pride 3, Stealth, True Sight.
So
So
many
if
keywords
it didn't have
already.
enough keywords, yeah.
Yep.
It's a 2/2 on enter as a class bonus. Keep that in mind. This is class bonus.
Yeah, Merlin,
Uh,
hands off.
yeah, hands off any other Crux deck. All right. You may banish a tamer card from your material deck. If you do, draw a card and put a buff counter on it. So if you do that on the turn that you play the Sylvie, it comes out as a 5/5.
Yep.
Insane. A 5/5 body for 2 that has stealth and true sight, and it has pride 3, so you're immediately going to be able to attack with it.
Yep. Yep.
And
We
I
also
mean,
should talk about the other effect it has. It does have another
yeah,
effect that Tamer will probably be able to get online, and it's just a cherry on top.
just as like a little just in case it didn't have enough on it. Level 5 plus, and this is not a class bonus. This is just flat out level 5 plus. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to Ethereal Slime. I don't think it fits in any other Crux deck. I don't think it does enough. I mean, it's obviously not a Pendragon replacement.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's space in Crux decks
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this. I still think it's an awesome card. I think
Oh,
for this
absolutely. Yeah.
deck, it is one of the best ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the next one we have is the Luxem one. It is Lustrous
Luster
Slime,
Slime.
2 cost, Pride 5. It's got Taunt. On enter, reveal any amount of slime cards from your memory. For each card revealed this way, put a buff counter on it. So it comes in as a 1/5 plus any buffs any amount you reveal. So
Yep.
by default, it's coming in on Sylvie's turn as a 3/7 with Taunt. Already really good.
Yep.
Does have Pride 5, but Taunt still works, so
Yep.
that's fine. And then if you have 1 or 2 extras on the slimes in your memory,
Yep.
cool. I'm gonna make this a 4/8. I'm gonna make it a 5/9.
Yeah. Well, the
Like
other thing I think people don't realize is it's an on-enter effect it reveals. So you could play this for free as the first thing on your turn, and then in response to the on-enter, play a slime reaction card or something to put more cards down into your memory, and then that one resolves. This on-enter then goes to resolve and reveal, and you've now got cards in your memory. So you can still play this at the start of your turn, because you can just respond at fast speed to that on-enter effect to put more cards down. I think this is just a great card. I like this one a lot.
this
Yeah.
this one's super awesome. And
Yeah.
also, just in case this wasn't enough,
Yeah.
because it has Taunt, it's gonna have to get targeted by something. If you're playing an allies deck, I think this is gonna shit on allies, by the way. But on death, it's recover X, where X is the amount of buff counters that were on Lustrous Slime.
Yeah.
So good luck, allies. Even if you chip through this thing, you're still gonna have a whole bunch of recover to deal with now.
Yep.
And then you know what? I'm gonna do on the other side? I'm gonna be like, cool, you killed that one. All right, I'll play another one.
Yeah, no, that's
And
the thing. Then none of them are unique.
none of them
either.
are unique.
So you can
None
play as
of
many
them
as
are
you want.
unique.
One thing before we, because there is a Terra one still to go over, but before we go any further, I do want to mention that these advanced elements that they're all in, because we have the Lux and we have the Crux, we have the Arcane, we have the Terra. That doesn't Sylvie enables all these. So you could just slap the term advanced element on them and they all just become the same. The only thing that these advanced elements really say to them is they just lean towards the aesthetic that advanced element is. Luxem reveals, Crux does funny stuff with banishing and drawing. The Arcane one does spells because it said as a spell, so this is specifically a spell. So Spell Shroud is going to stop it. Oh, man, I said spell too many times. And then it banishes cards and draws cards. The Verdant Slime, okay, the Terra one I didn't quite understand in terms of its effect. I don't think I didn't, when I sat and thought about what Terra does, I didn't really, this wasn't the first thing that popped in my head. Verdant Slime, which is the Terra one, is another 2 cost, again, free. 2/2, Pride 5, class bonus is Taunt, so the class bonus Tamer is Taunt. On enter, destroy up to 1 target regalia with memory cost 0. I didn't I didn't think about Terra when I thought about that effect. But then also, if you don't, because if there's nothing there, you put 2 buff counters on it.
Yeah. You could just say, hey, look, no, I'm not going to destroy anything.
Yeah.
You just say that you don't want to do it, and you don't have to do it. And to be honest, a Pride
4/4
5
is
with
not bad.
a 4/4 that on the Sylvie turn comes in as a 6/6
Exactly.
with Taunt. With Taunt. You got to Taunt is such a massive thing now.
Yep.
Imagine if you get the Verdant Slime and the Lustrous Slime out, think about how much they're gonna have to go through
Yeah.
just to then hit
Yeah.
you again with allies. Like it's ridiculous.
Now, the cool thing as well, right, is that with these slime stuff, because obviously we're seeing a lot more removal in the game with this new set. Like, there's a lot more interaction. I assume they're going to hit more removal. We haven't really seen too much, but we've barely seen any percentage of the actual set. So there's going to be removal. I'm calling it now. There's going to be more removal. Uh, Normally, to get a big 6/6 with Taunt on the board would require a big investment. This is 2. This is essentially, you could play this for free on the turn you go into level 3 Sylvie, and you have a 6/6 Taunter for free, which is huge. Like, yes, you can remove that from me. I could just play another one for 2 if I have it. Or even if I didn't lose much on that turn. I lost 1 card from my hand. I can now still play the rest of the stuff from my hand. It's a really, really cool thing that I say, like, Sylvie invested a lot in her allies, and then for them to just get removed would be extremely sad. These cost not a lot to get a really good like return on that investment. I really like it a lot.
I
Yeah.
I can see this deck snowballing
Yeah,
a lot because
absolutely.
the allies are so cheap. I
Yeah.
think probably my biggest concern at the moment, based on what we've seen, is the
Mm.
early game.
Yeah.
This deck is gonna live or die based on the early game because it's not like we can play dungeon guides, we can play academy guides because it's they're normal, but we can't play a lot of the filtering or a lot of the
Yeah.
normal sort of the normal. We can't play a lot of the like standard floating memory package that people would normally want to play. So
Yeah.
I mean, we can play fast cures and idle thoughts and things like that, but it's really going to live or die based on how it can survive early or
Absolutely.
how it can turbo. But I think probably one of my favorite cards that we got a cycle of baby slimes, which are really cool.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool interaction that I noticed with the baby green slime, which is a 2 cost. So all of the babies are 2 costs. None of them have pride. So this is a class bonus tamer, fast activation for baby green slime, which is great.
That's
It's really
huge.
cool.
Yeah.
Fast speed, animal. It's an animal as well. We should also point that out as all of the babies are animals. Uh, so this on enter, it suppresses target item or weapon,
Yeah.
right? Which is really good. It's almost like a Zephyr on a stick.
Yeah.
It's great, and a fast speed animal means that you can trigger the level 2 Sylvie, because a lot of times they don't want you to have an animal and a beast, so they'll target one of them. This lets you have a beast and then play this at the end of your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And I actually found a really cool interaction with it. If you play, there's a main deck card called Forest Cake. It is an item tamer food. It costs 2, and it has a on enter effect of draw a card, and it is class bonus whenever an animal or beast ally enters the field under your control. You can sacrifice it to put a buff counter on it. We're not worried about that. We're worried about the on enter effect. The fact that baby green slime suppresses an item, and this is an item that on enter draws you a card, means that you can play baby green slime, flicker this forest cake, and it comes back. You draw another card off of it.
Mm.
It's a good way to generate value, and that fuels your level ups.
Yeah.
And then you're going to draw 2 cards off the Sylvie level up, draw another card. Like it's that value line is really really good. And
Yeah.
forest cake, when it comes back down later on, you could just play it. So it's one of those cards that it sits around. You can flicker it with baby green slime, get a bunch of value, and then when you go to play your advanced element slime, you sack it and give it yet another buff counter. Like I would argue that this could be a competitive deck. We could be seeing Sylvie and upcoming Ascents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like she's a great card. She's a great champion, sorry, and she always fell off a little bit. I feel like Sylvie and Terra as a whole were always just a few cards or like something. There were always something they were just missing. It turns out what they were missing is every other advanced element. That's all they were missing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all they needed, really. Which is hilarious. But we finally see her big, and that's really, really cool. Before, like, I'm gonna lean off the recollection decks now because we've been going on for a while. But before we do end off, there is one card that did come out in the new in the design notes that I really want to talk about. Because again, I said Tony was one of my favorite champions right now. We got a very cool new sword attack, which is Guardian Warrior class bonus. It's 4 damage, costs 7, but it costs 1 less for every single token you control. It's also a class bonus. So maybe, Neos Warrior, we're going to get, maybe Mordred, Neos Warrior. But
Yeah.
the whole point of it only has one other word on it. Cleave. We finally got another cleave card for Neos. Neos to me was a deck which fell off because like, well, not fell off, but it had the one issue is if your opponent builds wide, what does it do to stop this? It doesn't have a cleave. You have to include the warrior cleaves, and all of them are class bonus in some way, and they either cost a lot for what they do. Like the fire cleave is probably the best one, considering you don't get the class bonus. It's a 4 cost for a 1, like for swinging 1. That's fine. That's not terrible. It's a cleave. Like Neo's Tony at Tony at level 2 gets +3 attack, so it's a 4 damage cleave. It's not terrible. Some stuff can stop it. This though, this is base damage 4. Yes, you're gonna have to be Neos for it. Yes, you're gonna have to have tokens on the battlefield for it to cost less. That is not ideal. But if a board starts getting big, this is, like Sylvie. Sylvie late game is going to be building a big board. This is going to cleave through that. And that is extremely good.
You know what's going to be funny when you start cleaving the slime deck, though? Is that I'm just going to retaliate for like 15 because all of my slimes have like 80 buffs.
That's the thing. Like, so it's going to become this mind. And that's what I'm saying. This whole new set is just a mind game set. Do I have the cleave in hand? Do you not attack me this turn so that you can hold up all of them as almost like a mutually assured destruction? If you swing at me, I will retaliate for. It's really cool. I think this is extremely cool. Thank you to the devs for releasing this at 3 a.m. your time. I'm sure that was absolutely everything
this
you
was
planned.
This is exactly what they planned so that we could exclusively do it, and we totally procrastinated by talking a lot before recording this episode to the perfect time, exactly when it was released, and then decided, this is going to be a good time to record this podcast.
Absolutely do not have a pizza sitting on my front doorstep getting cold because we wanted to do
You're gonna have to put that. You're gonna have to put that shit in the microwave
absolutely.
Or something, man.
There's before I finish off my segment, there's one last card that I really do want to talk about because Siladar did mention that there was one card which would be good for Mordred, so instantly Neuron Fire for me. I think we found it in the design notes. It is the first card which costs X, which we've seen that mechanic in other games. Costing X is a thing. The more you pay, the more it does, which is cool. It's called Lost in Thought. It's a water card, so obviously, Mordred plays water mostly because Arendite exists there. But it is an action mage skill, fast speed, but it has Tenoris in the art, so what the hell, mage? You may banish up to X cards with floating memory from your graveyard. So very similar kind of Mordred effect there. Arendite, banishing any amount of floating memory cards, almost. And you draw a card for each card banished this way. Not draw into your memory, draw them straight to your hand. It also has floating memory because every water card should have floating memory. So obviously you pay X amount, and then you may banish X cards. So if you have 5 floating memory and you want to banish all 5, you're going to need to pay 5. But then you get to draw 5. So essentially, everything you pay, you refund to your hand. It is a really, really cool card for that. I think this is extremely awesome. Also, because it's fast speed, this means you can play it during your opponent's turn. So, like, even if you don't want to mess up your turn, or play it pre-recollection. So you're going to pick up all your cards anyway. Really, really cool card. I love it a lot. And Mordred, obviously, because he turns all attack cards in your graveyard into floating memory, this gives Mordred ways to draw through his deck, which is one thing that he really was missing in Water. I like it.
This is gonna make Mordred scary.
Yeah.
I think if you can put Mordred on a field and then do this pre-recollection and get 4 or 5 off of it and then fill up your hand, all you need is a good finisher. And oh man, like, this is nuts.
Yeah, because we should mention that obviously this is taking away from the floating memory that Arendite wants to use. So if you're playing this, you either are you're mathematically trying to figure it out so that you're not banishing too much that Arendite is no longer usable. But this is a very, very good card because you can banish a little bit. You could only banish like 2 or 3 floating memory cards, draw 2 or 3 cards, and then still play Arendite and banish the rest. You might just need that extra bit of hand size to be able to play through a full turn. So you could still use Arendite as a finisher. This just gives you more options. And I think that is really, really cool because Water does have a lot of cool options. They have cool allies. This could just be played in like a Water allies list, to be honest. Very, very comfortably. It's a good card. Also, we should mention X can be 0. So you can just essentially discard this from your hand for floating memory. If you are like, this is a cool card, but I'm about to go into Arendite, I'm going to go into Arendite, and in response to the on-enter effect, I'm going to pitch the 3 Lost in Thoughts that I had in my hand, get 3 more floating memory in my graveyard, banish them all with Arendite's on-enter effect. Nice. It is cool.
You know what? This is going to be very, very good card. Just because of the fact that you can pitch it for floating memory,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not going to be a dead card.
yeah.
I think I can imagine Merlins late in a game if you played a Water Merlin, Prismatic Merlin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can see definitely one thing late game, and with Merlin you end up with a lot of floating memory that you don't
Mm,
need, and you'll end up pitching it. And this is a really good way to use that.
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
If only
lost
we
some
can
good
see more
cards.
discard. Only we can see more discard in water.
But yeah, that's all the stuff I'm really excited for. We definitely went quite a while with the spoilers, but there's just so many. Like you can't blame us. There are so many cool new things coming to set. As much as we were harping on about how cool ALC was, MRC is shaping up to be even cooler than that. And that's just it's credit to the devs for making such cool cards, such a good game that can really be. I'm gonna dick ride for a second, but I really do think that this is probably one of the best sets we're gonna see in the game so far in terms of what we get. Time will tell exactly how it shapes the meta, but I do see it getting shaken up. I hope that it gets shaken up. As much as I like this meta currently, I want to see new stuff get big. I'd love to see Arasana gets big because it means that Glenn will play it and stop playing Merlin, which is so good. I prefer that, honestly. Stinky Crux.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited too. I can't wait. I think both of the recollection decks are like kind of more than I was expecting, which is awesome.
Exactly, yeah.
They seem super pushed, and I'm really excited to get my hands on them. We will be doing some gameplay with them. We'll be
Yeah,
smashing them into each other and seeing how that goes. But
absolutely.
no, I'm super excited. Can't
From us
wait.
though,
And keep in mind the date, the 8th of May.
yes,
We will be
yes, yes,
doing
yes.
our own spoiler reveal.
Absolutely.
So keep it in your calendars. Get subscribed, and stay keep in the loop. Keep in the
No,
loop.
no, but we do weekly videos. So if you do like our content, do like chuck us a follow in some way. We would love that. We also have a Twitter now, which we may or may not have just set up before we started recording this.
Hey, they don't need to know that.